Has there ever been a character that you want to meet in a theme park, and yet that said character is nowhere to be found? Well, all thanks to one video managed to spark a conversation. That's where this video comes in. There's a lot of cartoon characters in our world. Some of them are famous, and others are not so much. But let's just say that if they're popular, they might show their faces in their theme parks. Welcome to this new series that I'm going to be calling as Missing Walkarounds, where we talk about a series where we talk about some characters that are missing in theme parks and spark some conversation and more awareness of the missing characters. So, with all that said, let's begin. Valentine's, the day where you show an affection to one another. It can either be your friends, family, anyone. It's really how much you feel about them. In the field of animation, this is no exception. And there's some characters in animation that made an appearance in theme parks, like Mickey and Minnie, that's full on sold in. There's even Wally, where they haven't been meetable yet, but since they're still popular, they might have a chance. There's Flynn, better known as Eugene and Rapunzel, which Ed too is also meetable. Homer and Marge, these two are meetable, but at Universal theme parks, but might be at Disneyland sometime soon. Tarzan and Jane were not very common, but they are meetable. You just gotta catch them at the right time. Shrek and Fiona, both of them are meetable at Universal Studios, yet again. Lady and Tramp. They're not meetable by any means. This is a good video topic, if I'm going to be honest. Released in 1955, it stars two dogs with different attitudes and different lifestyles that have both of them fall madly in love. Now, keep this in mind. I myself never watched the film, but this film, to many other people, considers this as a classic. It's so classic that this spaghetti scene right here is one of the movie's more famous scenes in media. So famous is that it has been parodied a lot. The scene is so famous is that, well, again, it has been parodied. Did I say it? Yeah, it has been parodied so much that other media has been showing it up. Like Cyanide and Happiness, where this homeless guy kicks Lady and then starts eating the spaghetti itself. Disney also made their own parody with the Mickey Mouse cartoon from 2013 with the third wheel, where Goofy used the spaghetti for a lasso, right here. Even Family Guy, the show that does a lot of parodies, they too did a parody with Lady and Tramp. And with Michael Vick as a guest star in it. Not to mention that since the film is a classic and iconic, it later got a direct-to-DVD sequel called Scamp's Adventure. It got a live-action remake from 2019 that was released directly onto Disney+. And Lady and the Tramp, alongside What's the Night Before Christmas, this film was so popular that it actually got lucky enough to be a part of the National Film Registry. The film is such iconic, and yet, despite being so iconic, how come we don't see them at the Disneyland parks? The film has some representation at Disneyland parks with Tony Town Square restaurant that people will start to recreate the scene from Lady and the Tramp. And yeah, it's one thing, but we're eating at a restaurant, we're not meeting the characters. But the characters are at the parks, but it's not what you think. This is a lady statue from Disney's Pop Century Resort, in the form of a statue. A big one, that is. She, alongside with Tramp, are statues. and therefore you don't meet them at the parks, like, whatsoever. This kind of bugs me. Despite coming from one of the most popular movies of all time, they're not meetable at the parks. Why is that? Does Disney have something against its dogs? Is it because there are limitations? Like, why? Because let me tell you something. This is Max the dog, and if you watch Little Mermaid, he is Prince Eric's pet, and you may notice Max is all on fours instead of standing up on twos. Yeah, on twos. But ain't it weird that he's a dog? I'm just saying this right now. If dogs are supposed to act more like a dog, that's to me that I'd say that's BS, because even though we don't see Max at the parks, there's some other dog characters that break the dog's rules. Over at Disney World, Florida, at the Magical Kingdom, back in 2013, there was a Dog Days summer event where 4 dogs will be dancing with you. And the dogs are Pluto, Doug, Bolt, and Stitch. Well, he's technically an alien, but since Leo sees him as a dog, I guess that makes sense. But let me tell you something. All 4, Pluto, Doug, and Bolt, all 3 of them are standing up on their hind legs like an actual person. And you know it's characters that would have made a perfect fit? Lady and Tramp, most likely Tramp, but they did not use that opportunity. So they just use the ones that they have. Marie from the Aristocats, well, not really a dog, but more like a kitten, even she made it into the parks. And this is what she looks like. Eye-catching, am I right? So, let me tell you something. How come Marie gets a pass, and yet Lady and Tramp are still not meetable, despite showing that despite the big influence that they made? Seriously, they must join at Disneyland parks. But can they work? Actually, I found some sources that both Lady and Tramp can work. I have found some pictures of Lady working at the parks, but, well, let me show you. The user Cocker Spaniel created this picture right here showing how Lady can work at the parks. In fact, let me show you the full version of it. This is what Lady looks like at Disneyland parks if given the opportunity. And in the description it says, Lady can be spotted around Main Street or at Tony's Town Square restaurant. She's often hanging out near the train station waiting for Tramp. She's rarely brought out, but she's seen at special occasions around Christmas times. Like, this is her signature, this is her special outfit, and this is her Christmas outfit. And judging by this artwork, it shows that Lady can work at the Disneyland parks. So yeah, shout out to the Cocker Spaniel for creating this art, showing this artwork and hypothetical that Lady can work. In fact, here's how the costume would look like in execution. This is just a fursuit of Lady, and yet, just by looking at this, I can imagine that in a way I could see Lady somewhere at the parks. Like, I would totally see her at the parks. And even though it's just a fursuit, this creates the illusion that it feels like a costume from, again, that you would see at Disneyland parks. And this proves that Lady can work at Disneyland parks. The person who owned this is Lady. Okay. That is at Pretty Pridge. And just by itself, I can tell which is which. Anyways, this costume / fursuit can prove that Lady can be at the parks. It's all about when do we want to see it happen. And I think maybe now's the time that Lady should join. But what about her boyfriend Tramp? Oh, right. Well, so far I don't see any Tramp fursuits or costumes, but since he is Lady's lover, I figured that, well, I haven't seen those costumes just yet, but I am gonna say this. I do have some mock-ups about what Tramp would look like at the parks. This collie fursuit that I found can work as a great basis for Tramp. Well, mostly for the body and the floppy ears. Like, sure, it doesn't have the same mouth, but it can work. But still doesn't feel like too Disney. I'm just showing this as a basis. If you want to be true Disney, what about another Disneyland character that, well, it happened, ended up being retired? This right here is Dodger from the now forgotten or now underrated film Oliver and Company. And this is what he looks like. Sadly, he, alongside with Oliver, you can no longer meet them. But since Dodger is Jack Russell Terrier and Tramp has a mixture of a Jack Russell Terrier, I think it's possible. I think that he can make a great basis for Tramp. Just make the head a bit smaller and just be all full on gray. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, even though it's from their old movie, again, it's still a classic and it's famous. And yet, they're not at Disneyland parks. So, and I'm just showing these costumes that I showed you right there, either from fursuit or not. I'm telling you that Lady and Tramp can work. And what's my verdict on them? Should they be meetable or should they not be meetable? My verdict is they should be meetable. Lady and Tramp are part one of Disney's iconic characters of all time, and yet, again, they're not at Disneyland parks for some odd reason. And yet, since Valentine's Day is coming up, by the time you're watching this is a perfect opportunity to introduce them at the parks. There will be a change position about these characters going to the parks, but once that change position is finished, it'll be updated. Just to reiterate, I'm making a change edition about these two characters joining Disneyland parks. So once I post it about a comment on this, or then it'll be ready. It will be in the description once it's ready. And that's all I got to say about this. I'm not expecting this video to be very, very popular, like exploding to popularity. I'm just making this video to bring people more awareness that these characters are missing at the parks. If it becomes successful, that's telling me what we want at the parks, that's great. Then I did my job. But I'm just doing this to say, again, people need to be more aware about what's missing at the parks. But don't worry, this is just the first episode. More episodes like this will be on the way. So, if you like this episode, like, comment, subscribe, or share my content. This has been Jim TD, and I bid you farewell.